Okay, here we go. That was a bite. It did stick. That was on the deeper rod. There we go. There we go. That feels decent. Putting up a fight at least. I hate when they roll like this. Got him. Yes. Woo! Yes. Monster Coke. That's what I'm here for again. Whew. That's awesome. So the first thing I'll do is I'll cut both gills. After I bonked him off camera. I don't want to bonk him on camera because YouTube might not like that. And I'm going to let him bleed out. I'll kind of run I keep the net in the water flowing over his gills, and they just keep pumping out the blood. I want to keep his heart pumping as long as possible. So what I do is I recycle a bunch of old water bottles and soda bottles, and I fill them with water. I put a couple teaspoons of salt in there, and what that does is lowers the freezing point, and that means I get basically ice that's colder than normal water ice would be, which helps to preserve the quality of the flesh of these fish, because it is choice quality. It's got a ton of fat in it, and it's absolutely delicious. There you go. Check that out. Dandy Coke. Got my Kokanee in here, settled in between some ice bottles. It's still very cold, it's ice cold. I make sure not to set bottles up on top of the fish, because then it'll crush it and you'll soften up the meat. I just kind of lay it down in between, and that works pretty well. Definitely a tough bite today. I had one on this morning, and then it quickly got off. I picked up that one, the one fish I did catch, about an hour later. A couple rainbows, but it's very hot, very calm. Not really ideal Kokanee conditions. They really like that overcast and a little bit of chop on top. But still, happy to get my one, so I'm gonna get it home and get it filleted. Okay, so normally I'd scale a Kokanee if I was going to be using this for grilling or smoking, but eventually I'm gonna end up skinning it. For making the poke. So I don't really need to worry about descaling, because I'm going to be peeling that back, and that extra layer of scales will help protect it during the freezing process. Nice and firm and cold. So the main thing that you have to be wary of when eating raw fish, especially freshwater fish, is not so much parasites, but bacteria, which is why you want to keep it very cold. So I'm just gonna blot these with a clean paper towel, dry them off a little bit, wipe away any scales that I can see. Just try and keep it as clean as possible before I put it in the freezer. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap it in cellophane, and I always do it skin side up. That way I get a nice seal on the meat side. That one's good to go. Do the next one. Okay. Then the next step I do is I take a cookie pan and I'll lay these on there, and I already chilled this cookie pan, so it's been in the freezer for an hour since I've been home. That's gonna instantly start cooling this down, and we're gonna go set this down in our freezer, in my chest freezer, for 10 days and let it freeze. Most chest freezers get down to -4 degrees. They average about -4 degrees Fahrenheit, and at that temperature you need 7 days of freezing to eliminate most of the parasites. But I'm just extra safe, so I do it for 10 days, and then I can thaw them and eat them raw. So I'm just gonna set these down in the freezer and let them freeze for 10 days. 30 minutes to 2 hours before you want to eat, you need to prep the kokanee. So you'll need about 1 pound to 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless kokanee fillets. I've already removed the pin bones from these fillets here. You'll need a yellow sweet onion. You don't want to use anything but sweet onion in this case. This is a sweet onion from our garden. You're going to need soy sauce, honey, sesame oil, rice vinegar, and sriracha. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is take our boneless, skinless kokanee fillets and slice these into pieces. The word poke actually comes from the Hawaiian word for cut into pieces. So you want to make these into basically 1 inch by 1 inch to 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch pieces. So I'll just cut lengthwise down and just go ahead and start cutting this up into bite-sized pieces and putting them aside in my bowl here. Lots and lots of fat in there. My hands are already greasy and I haven't even poured any oil yet. That's a good thing. Okay, so the first thing we're going to add is the soy sauce. I'm going to do 1/3 cup of soy sauce. I like to use the lower salt, lower sodium soy sauce. Next we'll add a big heaping tablespoon of honey from our hives. But any honey works. One tablespoon of sesame oil. One tablespoon of rice vinegar. And then you can add sriracha. I tend to prefer a slightly spicier side, so you can go, a tablespoon or more. If you want something a little more mellow, you could just go with a teaspoon. I'm going to go with about a tablespoon. Okay, let's go ahead and stir that up a little bit, make sure it's good and mixed. This is also going to be the sauce for your poke bowl. So a key ingredient here is going to be the sweet onion. You don't want to go crazy because we're going to also be adding some green onion later. But I really like these sweet onions for this application. So I'm going to dice that up. And I'm also going to add that into the poke bowl. Now something else I like to add that will give it a little bit more of a stronger Asian flavor. You can make lots of different styles of poke bowl. You can make Korean, you can make Mexican style poke bowls. You can really go anywhere with these flavors depending on what ingredients you add. Is I'm going to add a diced up teaspoon of ginger. And we want to mix this ginger and onion thoroughly in with
Kokanee. Making the Koki Pokey. Okay, now you could just go ahead and serve this immediately if you want to, but I like to let it chill for 30 minutes to a few hours in the refrigerator. The longer you let it chill, the more intense the flavor gets. I do find that if you do an overnight soak though, you really start to lose that freshness flavor of the fish. So I do encourage you to serve it that day within a few hours. But I'm going to cover this up and put it in the fridge.
Okay, so about 30 minutes before you're going to serve, you want to get the rice going. You can use jasmine rice, you can use brown rice, you can use whatever rice you really want. If you've never made rice, it's super easy. 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water, throw it on the stovetop. Just as it starts to boil, turn it down to low, put a lid on it, let it sit there for 20 minutes, and then turn it off and let it cool. You'll be fine. You'll get nice, fluffy rice every time. Alright, we'll start with the cilantro. I don't want to use the big stemmy parts, so I'll go ahead and strip the leafy parts off. And we're looking for about 1/4 cup of this chopped. Alright, so we're going to finally chop that up just really quickly. Next, the cucumber. I'm going to slice that into cubes. I really like English cucumbers and these like gherkin style pickle cucumbers for this. They tend to be a little bit sweeter and tend to be a little bit crispier than the smooth skinned ones you get at the store. These ones come out of our garden. You want nice big chunks of those, about the same size as your salmon pieces. Radish, I'm just going to slice super thin. That's going to add a little bit of heat and crispiness. Okay, so the carrot I've already peeled. I'm just going to julienne this carrot. So there I've got about 2 cups of diced carrots. I'm going to dice up 2 green onions. And then next we're going to do the avocados. We're going to make those into slices. And here I have the seaweed that I've just rehydrated. I added a little bit of rice vinegar, some garlic, and red pepper flakes. And I'll need a handful of cashews. And there's the poke bowl deconstructed with all of the vegetable adds. Now we're going to prep the rice. It's been sitting on the stovetop, just cooling off here for the past 10 minutes. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar, a teaspoon of sugar, and a pinch of sea salt. And I'm going to thoroughly stir this together until it fluffs up really nice. You don't want it to be overly sticky. If you find that you're getting sticky rice, make sure you rinse your rice before you cook it until the water runs clear. That'll get rid of that gluten that causes it to stick together.
Okay, so let's go ahead and assemble our poke bowl. So we'll take about 1 cup of cooked rice, lay that in the bottom. And we're going to start layering in our vegetables. I like to serve it over warm rice. I like the contrast of the cold, crisp vegetables and the cold fish with the warm rice. Make sure you get lots of that sauce in there. Don't be afraid to pile it up high. But make sure you get some of that sauce. You can also add ponzu sauce or whatever sauces you like. You can make this like a Korean style one, and you can add gochujang sauce. Then next you want to add a healthy dose of the cilantro. And then you can add some of the cashew. Now if you want to add additional chili sauce, you can do that, or you can even mix chili sauce with yogurt or mayonnaise if you want to get some of that sort of creamy style sauce too. But other than that, it's time to eat your poke bowl.